Hey folks, walk with me. Well, I just finished a run and now I'm walking up a hill, and so I'm very sweaty and a little out of breath. So it's going to be that kind of a video. But I wanted to share a little story that, if you're feeling sort of, at your lowest point, or not feeling like you're on a redeemable path, you don't know how to make it in the world. I've been there, and I wanted to share my story of how that turned around for me, how I turned it around. And I just want to preface this by saying this is particular to me, right? These are skills and resources that I had at my disposal. And these were choices that I made, many of which that contributed to me sort of getting my life together. I actually wouldn't make those same choices again. But everyone's capacity and resources and skill sets are different. And everyone has different wants and desires, and everyone has a past that's running a piece of software that we call the brain, and you may not recognize the software and how it's influencing your decisions. So, I bring this story to you with the knowledge of those things up front. So I'm going to try to give a very abridged version of this, and I can always break it up and go further in depth if people want later. But in 2009, I found myself in my late 20s without a job, pursuing an artistic career, which was important to me, and I had then at that point no place to live. The apartments that I had been renting when I lost my job, I freaked out. I didn't know how to get another job. I thought without good references, maybe no one will hire you at all. And I freaked out, and I didn't renew the lease of my apartment. And I took my security deposit, which was all the money I had in the world then. I think it was $1,400 or something. And I had that in cash, and I was on the street. I was out performing and playing shows and doing what I could to stay sort of temporarily sheltered that way, right? You can always hang out until the bar closes, and sometimes you get free meals and drinks and stuff. But I was, some nights just literally on the street. This was in Chicago. I was several nights, both when I was in Chicago and then when I was in New York and still didn't have a place to live. I would do this thing where I would set a timer on my phone for 5 minutes, and I'd go into the bathroom at a 24-hour Starbucks, and I'd lay on the floor in the Starbucks bathroom and sleep until the 5-minute timer went off. And I figured, if I can do it in 5-minute increments, it shouldn't look as suspicious. And so that was how I got a very limited amount of rest periodically. And ultimately, I was able to start touring and performing more shows. And I got into this scene where, essentially the couch surfing scene, where you'd go play in a city, and either the place where you were playing would give you some housing for that night, or that night plus one or something, or more often than not, I would find locals there who were interested in having people from out of town stay with them. And I did that hundreds of times across the US and 13 countries in Europe. This did give me an opportunity to see 47 states. I've not been to Alaska, Hawaii, or South Dakota. Um, but yeah, it was a scary time. I survived some weeks, especially in the Pacific Northwest, where I spent a lot of time, Portland, Seattle areas. I survived a lot of times from Trader Joe's. They would give, I don't know if they still do this, they would give away free coffee. They had tiny cups with coffee. Um, and you could take those if you wanted. And they would give out oftentimes like just some fruit, random fruit, like clementines, I think was common. And so sometimes that was what I had, clementines and free coffee with sugar and milk, because if otherwise all you have are clementines to eat, you really want that sugar and milk. So, go ahead. Yeah, it was tough times, and this went on for several years. And then, I decided in 2012, 2013, somewhere around there, that it was like starting to feel too hard, constantly too unstable. And, at this point I was in my 30s, and I started to do like TaskRabbit, which I don't know if that's still around either. But you do these little gigs, and I would like pick up letters to deliver from office to office in New York City for like $20 or stuff like that. And then I met somebody and I got like a random, catering job where I would like be a caterer for this place. I think it was called the Explorers Club, which was literally a club for people who went on like explorations. And they would have fancy events to raise money and stuff like that. And then finally I got like an office job, and just started working. Realized somewhere along the way there that I had been delinquent on my student loans and had a tax refund that was taken, like seized. Called them, got on a payment plan. These days, I've done such work paying that down that I could pay it off if I wanted to, but it's less of an interest rate than I can make on my money in a savings account, so no real hurry to pay it off. And then, I kept sort of on the track of office job to office job, and made a few moves, got a few promotions, and in 2021 ended up buying a house, which I just never ever thought that was going to be an option for me. So effectively, between say 2012 to 2021, I know that's 9 years, but I really feel like I got myself sort of more securely housed and stuff within the span of like 5 or 6 years, between 2009 to 2014 or so. But the real sort of like more stability felt like it took place around 2015 or so. But yeah, over the span of 9 years, I went from sleeping on the floor in Starbucks bathrooms, and having cash to my name, to buying a house. And yeah, I traded off a lot of things. I made some moves out of desperation, out of pure fear. That's seeing things differently now. I wouldn't do it that way today, but I may not have an opportunity to know that if I hadn't made those choices to begin with. But I just thought I would share this to say, please don't follow my path. But there are ways in which you can turn things around if you're feeling like really despairing and undignified. This is how I felt. And just like the filthiest piece of trash on the side of the road. That's what I felt like. Undeserving of anything. You can, on your own timeline, with your own skill set and your own wants, and your own sort of stepping stones, right? This isn't like a snap your fingers and everything revamps. If you do that, I think you're skipping over a lot, and you're going to end up in a crisis of some sort. Maybe you'll have money, but you'll be in a different kind of crisis, which you're still not going to want to be in. So yeah, this is just to say, on your own timeline, fill in your own capabilities and desires and the ways in which you'd maybe take a little step here and there toward whatever it is that you feel would be helpful to you, would make you feel more secure, more stable, that your basic essentials are being tended to and taken care of. I'm just here to tell you that it can be done. And along the way, you will very much surprise yourself. Sometimes you'll surprise yourself and go, ugh, I know it sort of like looks good, right? Societally looks good, but doesn't feel good to me. And in some ways you'll surprise yourself and you'll go, wow, I never would have guessed that. I never would have guessed that I could have done that. That's amazing. All right. I hope that this reached somebody who this provides a little bit of hope for. I don't know. All right, folks. Well, if you walked with me or watched along, certainly appreciate it. And as always, I will see you in the next video.